In this video, we're going to talk about some rules for using commas on the ACT. So there are only 4 rules that you really need to know about commas. The first one is using commas in a series. So you should use a comma between each item in a series of 3 or more items. So for example, in this sentence we have, I went to the store to buy apples, peaches, and bananas. We are using a comma to separate each item in the list. So for example here we have apples, peaches, and bananas. The next example, we have James, Tom, and Ben like to eat cheeseburgers. So again, we have 3 names or 3 items, and each are separated by commas to show that there are in fact 3 items on the list. So let's see what happens when you don't put a comma. So in this sentence, we have, my favorite condiments are ketchup, mustard, and relish. Without having a comma in between mustard and relish, it seems like there are only 2 items on the list, ketchup and then mustard and relish together as one condiment. Since that logically doesn't make sense, we would need to put a comma in between mustard and relish to show that there are in fact 3 items in the list. Let's take a look at an example. My mother reminded me that human beings share many of the same hopes and fears, dreams and disappointments. So one tip for answering a question like this, when you see some commas and the word and, you can take a guess that the writer is probably trying to create some sort of list or separation between items in the sentence. So I'm going to try to look for clues right away to help me decide what is being separated in the sentence. So in this case, I see the word and twice. So one is grouping hopes and fears together, and then the other end is grouping dreams and disappointments together. This helps me decide that the writer is probably trying to separate 2 items in the list, like this. So these 2 words are grouped together by the word and. And it should be separated by a comma to separate one and one item. So because I know that this comma is correct, I'm going to go ahead and eliminate the options that do not have this comma. So if we move to option A, then we notice that we do have this comma here, which is in between these 2 items in the list. But what's wrong about option A is that there's also another comma here. So with this comma, we actually separate 3 items in the list and not 2 like what we want. So we know we can eliminate option A. And then option B has this comma over here, and so does C, so we'll leave that for now and move to option D. It has nothing over here, which we know is needed to separate the 2 items in the series, so we can eliminate option D. Okay, then you can go ahead and look at option B and C to try to determine the correct answer. So we need to see what is being separated, how many items are being separated. In option B, we have hopes with a comma, and then fears, and then dreams, and because of this last comma, it would separate the word disappointments. So we actually have 4 items being separated in option B, but we already know that we are looking for 2, which leaves us with option C, hopes and fears with no commas, and then dreams and disappointments with no comma separating the words. So we have 2 items in that series, and we know that option C is the correct answer.